plan that goes with your flow. Get unlimited local talk, text, and data at the most affordable rate with Unlimited Flow Postpaid, only at Docomo Pacific.
Try Wendy's deliciously indulgent mushroom bacon cheeseburger made with juicy beef, crispy applewood smoked bacon, savory roasted mushrooms, Munster cheese, and a creamy garlic spread, all in a soft toasted bun. Make it a combo and try it in a double or triple. Wendy's, good, done right. Beat the heat and indulge in fruity cold smoothies at Cold Stone Creamery today. And if you're looking for a healthier alternative, they've got an acai bowl packed with fruits for a refreshing holiday from the hot sun and whatever is stressing you out. Take the family, treat your friends, or hog it all to yourself. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
Good Morning Show with Troy Torres is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Good morning, my dear friends. It is 9:14 a.m. on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. My name is Troy Torres. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, and God bless you all. I was just thinking right before coming on this show, I was looking around at, I'm in this concrete structure. I've got power. The aircon's going. I showered with running water this morning. I made myself breakfast. I get to have this opportunity to speak with all of you, and I thought, these are the Lord's blessings. This is His mercy on me and on all of us who are fortunate to be alive, are fortunate to have this camaraderie, to be able to speak civilly with each other, to debate these issues, and I was thinking, and I was just wondering, and my life has been, indulge me for a second, sorry. My life has been just full of this anxiety and rage and pride and especially vanity. And I was just thinking how blessed I am, because I was trying to think, do I hate anyone? Do I resent anyone in this world? And while there are people who I don't like, and sometimes I wish ill upon people, and I very quickly, step back from that, and I go to confession and I confess all of that, right? I don't resent anyone. And yeah, there are, in this deep dive that we do for the truth and in this fight against corruption, there are people in our Marianas who I don't trust, I don't think should be in positions of power, should be held to account, should face the criminal justice system. I don't resent any of them personally. And I thought, what a blessing that is. And I hope that you all shared those same blessings. Today, just like yesterday, so this is the second day of our look into what the legislatures of both Guam and the CNMI are up to. The Commonwealth Legislature still has not updated their website with any legislation from the new 24th Commonwealth Legislature, both in either the House or the Senate. And so I have nothing to bring you from the CNMI. In Guam, there's a little bit of a technical glitch going on. So I read to you, and we went over the 27 bills. Not all of them have links. Not all of them can be seen on the new legislative website, guamlegislature.gov. But we went through most of them, the 27 that were there. I failed to see the head note on that page of the website that said that these are the bills that were introduced as of January 15. And if you notice in that the explanation or the discussion that we had yesterday about the 27 bills, one bill noticeably was missing, and that's the governor's bill regarding EPAL point. And so this morning, and thank you to the clerk's office over at the legislature, I asked for the latest list of bills. And I understand that what's happening is the new legislature is having technical issues and internet issues, and that's why this listing on the website is not updated. But all you have to do is call the clerk's office, and you can get this list, or you can just email me and ask me to send you the list. My email is troy@kanditnews.com. Kandit is Kandit. And I'll send it to you. So we're going to talk about this. There's I think it's 28 through 35. Yesterday we discussed 1 through 27. I'm sorry, 28 through 33. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just 6 bills to discuss today. I don't have the bills themselves, so we're going to have to go off of the titles and make assumptions from there and, have some sort of a discourse about what these might be. But I want to start with the bill that we discussed yesterday that was not, it's one of those ones that they didn't have the bill linked to it. And so I asked Senator Chris Duenas, who is the author of this bill, and it's the ADU bill, the Adult Dwelling Unit Bill, Accessory Dwelling Unit Bill. And it's the only bill that's been introduced that has a majority, actually more than a majority. I'm sorry, there's a second bill that was in bill number 33 also has a supermajority of senators. But it was the first bill to have a supermajority of senators signing on to it. 10 senators, both Democrats and Republicans, signing on to this bill, including 2 or all 3 of the Democrats who are aligned with Governor Lulian Guerrero. So you might imagine that this is a bill that, if it were passed by the legislature, would receive the signature of the governor. You can't always assume that, but there's a good possibility. So considering that the Democrats who are aligned with her, all 3 of them have signed on to this bill. What this bill is game changing. It was introduced in the last term and it did not pass because the leadership at the time kept it back, held it back. But we have this affordable housing issue on our island, and it's been an issue for the past several years. And we began to notice it, a little before the pandemic, when you saw the price of renting a home begin to become $2,205 a month or $2,450 a month. These prices sort of based on a number of things, but mostly based on the ever-winding competition between military rates and Section 8 rates that have just driven up the cost of, or the value of rentals on this island. And so everything outside of military and Section 8 became more expensive. So an apartment that just a few years ago would go for $600 a month or $800 a month, now it's at $1,100, $1,200 a month. A home rental outside of and one that is not so nice. There's a whole lot of fixing up that needs to happen, or a whole lot of problems that are there. $1,800 a month. If you're lucky, $1,600 a month. And so it's been unaffordable. And you saw thousands of people leave this island, and the biggest complaints, or the biggest reasons that these our brothers and sisters who left the island have given: number 1, the minimum wage; secondly, the cost of housing; third is the cost of everything else. It's not affordable to live on Guam. You've got to be in the wealthier class or in the poor class and lucky enough to have a Section 8 voucher or public housing. It's a big problem. And the voters assigned to senators last legislature their priority of affordable housing solutions. And the last legislature woefully failed, even though there was legislation introduced that would significantly affect affordable housing policy. You had your I forget the bill number in the last legislature. I think it might be 179, where you had this proposal by the Guam International Country Club to convert the golf course in Dededo to a solar farm, pay the rent for that lease to Chamorro Land Trust upfront to the tune of $9 million. That $9 million would be leveraged against federal financial funds, federal financing schemes, to produce $30 million in infrastructure upgrades to residential Chamorro Land Trust lots, potentially affecting and being able to turn over thousands of Chamorro Land Trust lots to intended recipients. That bill never made it on the floor of the legislature because of previous leadership. That was by Joe San Augustine, if I'm not mistaken. A co-sponsor of that was Chris Duenas. Now, Chris Duenas is the chairman of the powerful Legislative Finance Committee, a member of the Republican majority, a senior member of the Republican majority, and he has reintroduced the other affordable housing bill, and this is the accessory dwelling units bill. And he's introduced it with a supermajority of the senators to include Democrats. And what this bill does, like I said, it's game changing. So let's say you live in Liguan Terrace in a corner lot. And considering that your lot is big enough in the dimensions according to this bill, let's say you have a mother-in-law and she does not own a home. She's renting. She does not qualify for public assistance, or she's on a waiting list for Section 8. She needs a place to stay. And you have a house full of kids, but probably more important than that, your mother-in-law wants some degree of independent living. You can build her a concrete structure according to this bill. You can build her a concrete structure that is small, either attached to your Liguan Terrace home or somewhere within your lot, your corner lot. And it will come with a small kitchen, restroom, and shower facilities. And all of this will be permitted by the regulatory agencies so that she has an accessory dwelling unit. We need to begin to examine how much of an economic boom this will be, not just for that family, but that's probably the most important thing, right? The most important economic development is the one that affects the family directly on the ground. And so, of course, that helps that family, and that's the most important thing. But what this does for economic development in our island, if this bill actually becomes law, I mean, it opens so many doors. Now, consider that the accessory dwelling unit isn't necessarily for your mother-in-law. The accessory dwelling unit can be for your relative or your friend who suffers from some sort of mental health condition. And, circumstances being what they are, aside from, your desire for this person with some sort of a disability to have a degree of independent living, this also might solve some of our homelessness problem. Because, I've spoken to homeless people, and this is something that the Guam Homeless Coalition has talked about. And you can even talk to former Governor Eddie Calvo about this, who personally, when he was governor, canvassed some of these homeless encampments and asked people himself, do you want help? And a good number of people on the streets don't want help. They don't want to. The reason that they say that they went on the streets is so that they wouldn't be shackled by the constraints at home. I would have to imagine that some of that, the other side of the story might be that their families didn't want them in their home. But what if they had a detached unit and they could be with you on your lot? You can check on them. They can check on you. They can be off the streets in an accessory dwelling unit. This could have a potential positive effect on the homelessness problem that we have on this island. And then there's the idea that if you get so many, if you pass this bill into law, I'm not certain of this, and someone probably at GURA should do the research on this, but this might open Guam up to federal housing opportunities that would help families who want to build accessory dwelling units to get grants or to get some sort of financing, some sort of help with the development of these small units. Maybe rural development backed loans so that you can build a $10,000 structure and pay that back over time at very low or no interest whatsoever. Sorry, let me look at your. Johanna Ada says, can you please send me your email address through Messenger because I have a question about who's in each committee for the Senate. Hi, Johanna. So, okay, let me just do that real fast so that I don't forget, my dear friend. Troy@candidnews.com. Send message. And yes, Maria Perez, it is so sad. The affordable housing problem in our island is very sad. Carlos Pangilinan, who is the third owner of Kandit, until very recently, he was the silent owner, third owner of Kandit, until he joined a new show that we have called Two Sides of the Light Bulb, says, and this is an inside joke, Lala, you are as radiant as ever. Read my finger, Carlos. Good morning, Maria Perez, my dear friend and sister. All right, so federal grant opportunities, bringing in federal inflows of cash into this island. This is another way that if this bill becomes law, we could benefit. Our economy can benefit from something like this. Then there's the idea, well, attached to, you know, the possible federal inflows of cash to build these things, and people also having their own money or getting their own financing to build an ADU on their lot or attached to their existing homes, is the tax revenue that would naturally come from this. But probably more important to the government of Guam and to our ability to build things like a hospital, like roads, like schools. Do you realize what this would do to the debt ceiling? Because property values would have to rise because of the what do they call it when you have land and then you have there's a name for it. It's not a structure, but it's an improvement. The debt ceiling is based on the valuation of real property, and the valuation of real property is based on the value of the land and the value of the improvement on the land. By authorizing these ADUs, and with the potential that thousands of ADUs will be built, you're looking at the potential increase, significant increase in the debt ceiling, so that we are able to go onto the bond market to build the things that we need built for the long-term development of this island, and then bring in those hundreds of millions of dollars of securities into this island, increasing economic development even more. This upward spiraling of good that can come from this legislation is just, it's mind-boggling, but it's more mind-boggling that this legislation wasn't passed in the last term when it was introduced. And then here's the last part. And this is the part that concerns me, or that I appreciate the most about this bill. And it's this idea that until Guam has more adequate aging facilities, assisted living facilities for the elderly and the infirmed. I'm 44 years old. People in my family, we drop dead in our 70s. So between now and when I drop dead, God willing, of natural causes and in a holy way, maybe in my 70s, God willing, I'm going to be aging. I don't have children. I haven't treated people so well that I should expect that anyone's going to take care of me. So, you know, I'm at an age when I'm beginning to look at how am I going to age? How am I going to care for myself and get the care that I need when I'm unable to fully care for myself? And this idea of an ADU, you know, maybe someday I'll live in an ADU that is detached from my brother's house on my brother's lot. And, you know, somehow I'll have the ability to have a caretaker in this ADU where I won't be a burden to my family. I might be a partial burden to the state. I don't know. But these are the things that weigh on my mind. And I'm looking at this legislation and I'm thinking, you know, if I don't make it into an assisted living facility in old age or as I'm aging, this could be an option for me. And so, you know, I'm looking at this bill and I'm thinking, Pass it, senators. And I don't even know when the public hearing is for this. If Senator Chris Duenas, who's the author of this bill, is watching this, whether live or in the rerun, Senator, please put in the comments what committee this bill was referred to, and when a public hearing has been scheduled for this bill, because I want to give it the full support that it deserves. Good morning, Auntie Lonnie. Good morning, JD. Good morning, Sandra. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining. Now, let's go over the bills that have been introduced since January 15 that takes us through today, takes us through yesterday morning at 9:46 a.m. And it starts with bill number 28. And let me change the scene here so that you guys can see what I'm looking at. Now, again, we don't have the bills themselves, so we can't really get into the details of things, but we can have a discourse together based on the titles of these bills. So let's start with bill number 28 by Sabina Perez and Tony Ada. This is relative to increasing EPA's compliance and enforcement capacity to protect the health of our environment and people. Not enough information for me to understand what this bill is. I mean, protecting the environment is always a good thing. Oh my gosh, did you guys see that the president took us out of the Paris Climate Accord? Anyway, we can discuss that in another live stream, but I have no idea what this bill would do, and so I don't have any way of communicating to you anything about it. So we'll move on. Bill number 29 by Sabina Perez and Tony Ada, relative to prohibitions on discrimination in housing based on source of income as to promote equitable access to housing. Now that looks very interesting. That looks like another affordable housing game changer. I really want to see that bill. Let me note down for myself that I need to ask Sabina Perez's office for the bill. Ask Perez for 29-38. And then I have a note to myself as well to ask Shelly Vargas Calvo about her bill number. I can't remember the number. That's up here. Bill number 23. What is the Uniform Real Property Transfer on Death Act? Some smart stuff that I don't understand. Bill number 30. This is by Sabina Perez, co-sponsored by Democrats and Republicans. Not a majority of senators as of yet, but we'll see. Relative to establishing the Solid Waste Authority island-wide collection plan. Well, no, again, not enough information. Yeah, I am interested in that. Ask her for bill number 30 as well. Bill number 31 by Will Parkinson, relative to expanding options for we were just talking about assisted living facilities. I definitely want to know what that's about. Bill number 31. You know, Democrats, you may not have been able to select a minority leader, and you guys may be divided as no one's business and facing down the barrel of a federal indictment against someone in your administration. But I have to say, you guys seem to be introducing some good bills. Bill number 32, this is by the governor. This is the EPAL point return bill. And so, we've commented on this before. We have opined. Eric Rosario says, is there a bill number 69? Not yet, Chalo. Not yet. Good morning, Sandra Rages. Good morning, Eric Rosario. So for the past, I think it's 3 years, we've been putting out opinions that if let me just back up here. We put out opinions that Guam Memorial Hospital should be built at EPAL Point. In tandem with those opinions, we've said that if the legislature is not going to place, and if the governor is not going to place the hospital over at EPAL Point, then the legislature should return the land to the original landowner, which is really the land policy of the government of Guam, is to return lands to original and ancestral landowners that are not being used. And Gov Guam has so much unused land. And it's such a travesty when you look at the more than 20% of the landmass of this island that is undeveloped, unused. I'm not talking about parks. I'm talking about basically Chamorro Land Trust lots, because this government since 1975, when the Chamorro Land Trust Act was passed, can't get it together. And so this is the importance of all this affordable housing legislation, and legislation that impacts positively the Chamorro Land Trust Commission getting these lands out to people. And so the governor, granted, she should be doing more about CLTC lots to residential units or to residential lessees. This is a step in the right direction, I think. Returning, if the land ain't going to be used for a hospital by the government of Guam, return it to the Perez family. Let them build it into a hospital. Now, there's a portion of the land that is not being returned according to this bill, and that's where the existing Chamorro Cultural Center is, and a monument as well. And rightfully so. The government of Guam is already using it for these things, has already designated it for these uses. And we shouldn't be kicking out that cultural center. It should remain. And then bill number 33, this is by it's by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 members of the legislature. Its original author is Tony Atta. Relative to expansion of the elements for first and second degree criminal sexual conduct. So we can't see the bill, but I imagine what it sounds like from the title is that they're going to include more stuff in what qualifies as first and second degree criminal sexual conduct, which are the two higher forms of criminal sexual conduct. First degree criminal sexual conduct essentially is rape. Bill number 34 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by a majority of senators and 8 members of the legislature. It's by Tony Atta. Requiring employees who resign from GovGuam employment to submit to and pass drug testing to retain reemployment rights if said resignation was tendered within 30 days of an employer's announcement of drug testing, and to require employees to submit to drug testing prior to reemployment. You know what? That's one heck of a way of closing a loophole that has existed for years now. So what happens is in GovGuam, you do this random drug testing thing, or a drug test that is triggered by something like you have an accident at work. You're going to get this notification that says you got to report to the lab at this time today to go take a drug test. So sometimes what people who know that they're on meth, or that they smoked weed a week before or whatever, right? They'll resign so that they won't get terminated. And so that they will have reemployment rights. So what will happen is, and sometimes managers are colluding with them. So they'll resign. They won't have to go through the drug test, and then a certain number of days or months later, they'll get their job back. It's been a loophole in the drug testing policy of the government. I can't see what this bill says, and I imagine that this is not in it because it's not entirely germane to the bill, and there's a germaneness regulation in the standing rules regarding the introduction of bills. But I think this will, if there was real justice on this issue, senators will remove marijuana testing from the schedule. I mean, I get it. We don't want people going to work stoned, just like we don't want people going to work drunk. But it's perfectly legal. Or I'm sorry. I mean, there's no testing on alcohol that's going to get you kicked out of your workplace. But there is about weed, and it's legal. It isn't harmful. I mean, it's not harmful to the extent that alcohol, cigarettes, meth are harmful. Case in point, me. I don't even like getting stoned. I don't care for the high at all. But every night I have to take these gummies. They're called Delta 6. I buy them at the vape store across from Paradise Fitness Center in Dededo. Wonderful place, by the way. And these gummies are better than any of the other gummies that I've had. And I take them so I can go to sleep. And I take them because I need to sleep for a certain number of hours so that I can be alert and active in the daytime, so that I can work, so that I can bring you all this stuff and satiate the obligations that we have to our advertisers. And so in that case, right, like I don't see anything wrong. I see everything right with my consumption of THC. There is no way that and I don't want to work for GovGuam, but if there is no way that if a senator called me tomorrow and was like, hey, can I hire you to be in my office? No way I would pass a drug test. I have zero meth, zero coke, zero any other type of narcotic in my system. None for years. But I sure do have THC in my system because every night I take those gummies so I can go to sleep. And I would have to imagine that there are people in GovGuam who are like me, who have insomnia issues or have other issues, medical issues that require them, or not require, but like a great option for them is to take THC for their therapy. And I don't think they should be punished for just wanting to better themselves. And so the legislature needs to take a hard look at its marijuana policy when it comes to GovGuam employment. And finally, the final bill is bill number 35. It's by Tony Ada again, and this with 10 members of the legislature all supporting this bill relative to prohibiting the import of skincare products that pose a danger to Guam's coral reefs and marine life. Love it. Do it. Just on the title alone. Do it. And while you're at it, senators, can you please outlaw those stupid filters that make people look much younger than they really are? For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. You all have a wonderful morning, and God bless you all, and I love you all.